Hi everybody, and welcome to the Thoracic Pain menu taken from Pete Egoscue's most up-to-date version of Pain Free. So there's an older version of the book and this is the newer version of the book. For today's routine, you are going to need bits and pieces of equipment. So you're going to need 2 same size yoga blocks. You're going to need a static back setup for yourself. So static back looks a bit like this. Cushions underneath my calves, always a spare cushion or 2 underneath your head. Just always have cushions to hand when you do anything posture-wise. It's always helpful. We're doing an exercise called full static extension position. And you're going to need something that you can put your knees onto like this. So this type of situation will be going on. And we're also doing a supported squat position. So for supported squat, I'm going to be holding on to my banister like this. But this could be a door handle, or you might have something else in your house, the edge of a radiator or something like that that you could use. And I think that is it. So we'll get started, and I'm going to warn you that my dog is with me today in the studio. He's being a very good boy. He's upstairs, but he might make a celebrity appearance at some point. So forgive me if he comes down. I'm going to do my best to ignore him and just carry on like normal. So we are starting today's thoracic pain routine by getting ourselves into a static back position. 5 minutes here, off we go. Okay, so most of you, I suspect, are going to be familiar with static back, but for those of you who aren't, you are looking for something where you put your legs over it, much like this. Your hips are at 90 degrees, your knees are at 90 degrees, your legs are held in alignment at the hip, so hip, knee, ankle, and toes in alignment from both sides. And if the thing you have your legs over is too small or too short for you, you'll notice that you can't relax your legs whilst they are in alignment. So in order to hold them in alignment, if I didn't have these cushions underneath my calves, I would be holding tension in my legs to keep them there. So I want your legs fully relaxed, but I want them at hip width distance apart. And in order to do that, you may have to put more cushioning underneath your calves. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make in this exercise. And the other thing just to be cautious of is that you've got a cushion or 2 underneath your head and kind of the top of your shoulders if your body needs it. So if you don't have a cushion and you notice that your chin is tilting backwards into hyperextension, and or the bottom of your rib cage is lifting up off the floor in a flared position, you need 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 cushions underneath your head and shoulders to change the angle of your kind of tight, restricted upper back to get the bottom of the rib cage grounded, and that will be where the rest of your spine starts to release off. We're nearly 2 minutes in here. Your arms are out at 45 degrees rather than at 90, unless 90 feels really good for you. I'd rather you have them at 45. And we're not aiming so much to have the palms of our hands facing up to the ceiling. What we're actually trying to do is have the fleshy bits of our elbows facing up towards the ceiling. So if I put my palms facing up towards the ceiling, the fleshy bits of my elbows roll backwards and lift up off the floor. Because we're trying to change the shoulder and the chest here, I want my triceps, the back of my upper arms, touching the floor, inner fleshy bits of the elbows facing up towards the ceiling. And what that does is it means that my hand turns down towards my feet. That shouldn't be happening. It should be that my elbow, armpit, and my palm of my hand can face up towards the ceiling. But I have a twist through my arms because they're tight. They're tight in my hands, tight in my forearms, tight in my shoulders. And so there's this kind of postural contortion through my arms. If you are the same, just prioritize the elbow armpit because it's going to help open you up through the front of your chest, and that's going to create more lengthening through the lower back. 3 minutes here. We've got 2 more exercises in this position. So we're going to do some shoulder exercises from a static back position. But before we do that, I also just want to talk to you about your breathing. So I want you breathing in and out of your nose. I want you sending your breathing into your lower rib cage. So it's less about your belly moving when you breathe, and it's more about those lower ribs kind of stretching. You want them stretching up towards the ceiling, stretching towards the floor, stretching out sideways. We're trying to breathe slowly. We're trying to breathe really quietly, and you're trying to almost minimize the amount of air you're breathing in and out. So not to the point where you panic yourself or feel kind of too worried about it, but the more air hunger we can tolerate, the more efficient our breathing system is. We have other videos where we go into this in greater detail, but please do bear that in mind. So we're just breathing nice and gently, keeping it nice and quiet. We've got just under a minute here of normal static back. It's a great way to reduce rotation through the pelvis, the spine, the rib cage, and the shoulders. So we're going to be opening up our upper body, hopefully reducing any thoracic, mid-back area, rib cage kind of tension. And the way that we're going to do that is by taking a whole body approach, as with everything with posture. But the reason that we're doing this is it's a really good one for reducing rotation through the rib cage. That's a good place to start. And then we're going to wake up our shoulders and wake up our lower body as well. We've got just 10 seconds left here. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I'm going to keep my cushions where it is, because it doesn't really get in the way of this exercise. Because if I take the cushion away, I just always have this little bit of a feeling that my head wants to tilt backwards. And when that happens, I'm compressing my neck, but I'm not waking up my shoulders. So I just prefer to keep a cushion in static back for most shoulder exercises until the point where it kind of gets in the way. So we're going to continue with in this routine, 3 minutes of static back reverse presses. So for static back reverse presses, you need to put your hands into fists. So you're being really active and strong with your fingers. You're taking your elbows up to your shoulder height, unless there's pain where you can take it down a bit lower. But if there's still pain, don't continue with this routine, do something else instead. But what I want to make sure that you don't do is take your elbows too far. So some people will take their elbows above their shoulders and more in line with their ears. We're trying to keep it in alignment with the front of the shoulder so that we're waking up the triceps and other muscles kind of across your upper back. And what we're going to do, without flaring our rib cage and without tilting our head backwards, without tensing up our legs and without stopping breathing, because we're going to carry on that calm breath, we're going to push backwards into the floor, hold and release. Breathe back, push backwards into the floor, hold and release. So as I push backwards, I'm going to set my timer now, 3 minutes, off we go. As I push backwards into the floor with my arms, I'm not just pushing into the floor with my elbows. So it's possible here to kind of jab your elbows into the floor without really waking up the backs of your arms. I want you to feel like your shoulder blades are pushing down. I want you to feel like your very upper part of your arms are pushing down to the ground, all the way into the elbow portion. So it's not just the elbows jabbing with your shoulders lifted, you're really trying to get this movement kind of originating from the shoulder area rather than originating from the elbows. Be really careful that the head doesn't tilt backwards into compensation, into hyperextension, and be really careful that the rib cage doesn't lift up in compensation as well. So if your shoulders aren't very functional, you're going to try and find cheats to bypass the shoulder function. But if you're cheating, so if your rib cage is lifting or your neck is moving backwards, you're not teaching your shoulders to wake up, you're teaching your body that it's okay to cheat, and nothing will change. So take a step back, slow down the movement, stop trying to press so hard, and really focus on thinking about how do I wake up those triceps and those shoulder blades. We're nearly halfway through. Your feet and your legs are staying relaxed. The breathing stays relaxed. The belly is unclenched. Breathing in and out of your nose with your mouth closed. Sending that breath into your lower rib cage, relaxing your face, relaxing your jaw. Another thing to be cautious of here, but I'm probably not demonstrating this very well because I'm not very good at it, just make sure you're not moving your hands around. So people will do like this type of thing, or their arms will go wide, or their arms will come in. People will do different things with their forearms and with their hands and with their wrists to compensate for the arms pushing backwards. So you're really trying to keep your arms in this solid, stationary 90 degrees position, okay? I can't promise I'm doing it perfectly though. Really feeling the backs of the arms wake up. It will feel probably more of a coordination exercise than it necessarily will like a massive burning exercise. So what we're doing with this is we're shifting the shoulder position, we're waking up the arms, we're lengthening the upper back, and also continuing to reduce rotation through the thoracic spine. And this is just a really simple but not necessarily easy exercise. It's really good for getting your shoulders out of that like rounded forwards position when you're on your computer. 10 seconds left here. Keep going. Push, hold, release. 4, 3, 2, and 1. So staying where you are, I'm going to keep my cushion where it is because it doesn't stop me from doing this exercise. We're going to interlink our fingers together and we're going to really deeply clasp those fingers together. So there's no like looseness here. You're really strong in your hands, really digging the bottom of my fingers into each other and clamping the palms of my hands together. So I'm kind of really holding my hand tightly. We're going to do an exercise called static back pullovers. It's really common in static back pullovers for the hands to come apart in compensation. Keep the hands together. We're trying to get your shoulder moving, but you're going to notice that your hands, your wrists, and your elbows, and your rib cage, and possibly your neck really want to cheat. So I'm driving my hands up towards the ceiling, like so. Fingers interlinked, palms sort of clenched together, no space there. And as I'm really driving my arms up towards the ceiling, and as I'm doing that, what it's doing is stretching my kind of shoulders and my hands and my arms away from my body. So I'm creating length here. And I want you to get that sense of how that feels through your arms, where you're really lengthening up to the ceiling. But then what I want you to do is keep your hands stretching towards the ceiling whilst you pull your shoulder blades back and down behind you. So the shoulder blades are kind of nestled onto the floor in a not too dissimilar position to what you have just been working on. Your rib cage stays grounded. The back of your neck stays long. Your elbows stay as straight as they can. So my elbows are not very straight because it's that same dysfunction that I was talking about earlier with my elbow armpits presenting itself in a slightly different way in a different exercise. I want you to get that sense that the hands are drawing up to the ceiling, really stretching the arms long, but then the shoulder blades are pulling the arms behind you. So you've got this push-pull. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back as far as we can without the rib cage flaring, without causing ourselves pain, obviously, without tilting our neck backwards, and without bending our elbows. So your aim here is not about getting your hands on the floor, it's about trying to open up your armpit without the rib cage lifting up. So 3 minutes here, off we go. So the mistake that people make in this one is that they try and get their hands to the floor. And by trying to get your hands to the floor, what you're going to do is you're going to most likely bend your elbows and touch your fingers down. And that's not you opening up your armpit, that's you bending your arms to compensate. What we're trying to do is create as much space between the torso and the upper arm. So it's about really opening up the armpit. So I don't want you getting competitive about touching the floor. I want you to focus more on fingers being really like tightly interlinked. The palms of your hands are together. You're stretching the hands away from the body at the same time that you're pulling your shoulders down away from your ears. If you are pulling your hands away from your body, but also simultaneously elevating your shoulders, which means having them up around your ears, you're going to feel like your head is too big for your arms to kind of move around. Your head is not too big for your arms to move around. It's that your shoulders are up by your ears, you're compensating. So if that's happening, I want you to move within a really tiny range of movement, maybe just like this. And you're just trying to figure out, okay, how do I keep my shoulders behind me and touching the floor, but also away from my ears as I do this kind of chopping wood motion. We're moving super slowly. The face stays relaxed. The legs stay relaxed. The breathing stays calm and steady, in and out of the nose, into the diaphragm. Slowly, quietly breathing. My rib cage is not lifting. So the other kind of main thing that will happen here is if the shoulders are dysfunctional, as we move backwards, the rib cage wants to lift to compensate. It's the same principle as that last exercise. The rib cage settles to the floor. You're not gripping your belly to put the rib cage there. We use cushions to change the angle of your spine instead. And you're going to move within a smaller range of movement, really making sure that the rib cage stays grounded, the back of the neck stays long. We're not tilting that head backwards. Palms of the hands stay together. We're creating length through our spine, through our arms, but our shoulders are away from our ears. And ultimately, our goal would be that our upper arm touches the floor without the rib cage flaring. It's not about the hands touching the floor. We've got just over 20 seconds left here. And we've got one of my least favorite, but probably one of the most important exercises that I should be doing up next, called floor block. And that is time. So I am going to need my bench again in a few minutes' time for static extension position full. But for now, I'm just going to push that to the side and I'm going to grab my 2 yoga blocks. Let me just pop my hair back behind my head. Okay, so for floor block, some of the principles of this are actually really quite similar to what we just did. So what I'm going to do is I've got my 2 yoga blocks and they are going to go on the medium height. So this is the lowest, that's the highest, this is the medium height, and I've got that long, thin edge facing up to the ceiling. That's where my forearms are going to go. I'm laying in a prone position, so that means on my belly. And then when I'm in my prone position, I'm laying with my big toes together and my ankles out wide. So I'm in a pigeon-toed position. My big toes are touching, my ankles are hanging out to the side. My legs are going to be completely relaxed. I'm going to be doing a golfer's grip. If golfer's grip doesn't mean anything to you, make sure to watch my video explaining what golfer's grip is. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm starting off with my arms on the blocks in front of me. And if it was a clock, the blocks would be kind of 11 and 1 o'clock on the clock face. So they're in alignment really with my shoulder girdle. We're going to be moving around. So we're going to do one position here, we're going to do one position here, and we're going to do one position here as well. So my elbows are on the blocks, they're directly in front of my shoulder girdle, they're really quite narrow. My head's going to go on the floor. I want to move my microphone actually so it's a bit closer to me. My head's going to go on the floor. The crown of the head touches the floor, not the forehead, so my nose isn't being squished. We're going to just make sure that we're not in a rib cage flare. So I really want to flare my rib cage even when I'm laying prone, which basically means like the front of my body is really long and my lower back and mid back are a bit compressed. So when I have my arms on the block like this, I untuck my rib cage to change it out of the position it kind of naturally wants to be in, and that's going to mean that my shoulders have to work harder. Very similar to what we just did before, I'm going to drive my hands away from my body, so I'm creating that length through my kind of hands and through my arms, but I'm simultaneously going to pull back and down from my shoulder blades into my mid-back. So I'm trying to get my shoulders as far away from my ears as possible
while the hands drive forwards. There's this like stretch through my hands, through my forearms, and through my elbows. And the final thing that's going to happen here at the arm, if you can do it, but I would say this is the least important part of the exercise. Initially, if you're kind of new, I want you to focus on your hands and your shoulders sort of pulling back first. But if you can, I want you to see if you can get a twist in your upper arms so that you're rotating your arms externally. So what that means is that the upper arm is kind of twisting behind you so that the fleshy bit of the armpit, the fleshy bit of the elbow is starting to twist backwards. As you do that movement, make sure, if you're giving it a go, make sure you're not just moving your wrist, because it's very easy to just move your wrist but not actually rotate from the upper arm. It's a really difficult exercise, this. So we're pulling the shoulders down away from the ears, keeping the elbows straight, and then we're going to try and twist that upper arm towards the ceiling, external rotation, whilst the shoulders are in a depressed and retracted position. It's difficult. 1 minute here, off we go. So your feet are relaxed, your breathing is relaxed, your neck is relaxed, and your jaw is relaxed, your glutes are relaxed. The hands are super active in golfer's grip. They stretch away from the body, lengthening the arms, and you're trying to pull your shoulders down away from your ears into your mid-back. You want to create as much work for yourself as you can tolerate in your hands, your arms, and your shoulders without losing your breath or pulling any faces. So I'm not focusing too much on the external rotation here, just because I find it really difficult. I don't have the right shoulder positioning yet to sort of do that. As we move through the exercise, I find it a bit easier in the other positions to achieve the external rotation.
And that's 1 minute there. So exactly the same thing goes, but you're changing your blocks so they're more at a diagonal. So it's kind of like 10 and 2 o'clock on the clock face. Another minute here. All of the instructions are the same. Pigeon-toed feet, relaxing your legs. Everything else is zen except for your hands, your arms, your shoulders, and your mid-back and your upper back. Off you go.
So in this one, I find it easier to try and get that twist in the upper arms. And when I get that twist in the upper arms, it's not very good. I'm not very good at this exercise, but I can feel that my upper arms are wobbling, which is really nice. So it's this push-pull between the hands driving away from the shoulders pulling back and down into the middle of the back, and then the upper arms are rolling backwards and really wobbling on my left-hand side. My face stays relaxed, my jaw stays relaxed. The breathing stays calm and steady. In and out of the diaphragm. Feet are relaxed in that pigeon toe position. You've got about 10 seconds left here. 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Final position, and we're doing 9 and 3 on our clock. Again, the kind of elbows or the forearms. I would aim for your elbows a little bit more, because sometimes if you put your forearms on it, you can get a little bit of a bend in your arms, which makes it a bit easier. But if it's easy, you're probably not doing it right. So with this exercise, you know, you're in charge of how difficult you make this for yourself. If it's feeling really easy, you're probably not working hard enough. So really try and pull your shoulders back, really try and pull them down, really try and drive your hands away, and really try and externally rotate those upper arms. 1 minute here, off we go. So the hands drive away, the arms roll back, making sure that we're rolling the arms back from that arm, from that shoulder, not from the hands and from the wrists, pulling away from the ears, lengthening the arms away, relaxing your glutes, relaxing your feet, relaxing your breath. You've got the crown of your head on the floor, not your nose. Really making sure you're not just bending your wrists, which is a real big cheat for a lack of external arm rotation. And if you're somebody who has wrist pain, that might be one of the reasons that you have wrist pain, is because your wrists compensate, work too hard, are exhausted, overload because your arms are not rotating well enough. I certainly struggle a lot with this exercise. It's why I hate it, but it's why I should be doing it more than I am. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so the next exercise is a pretty tough one. It's static extension position full. So if you know the normal static extension position, you can do that. It's a little bit less loaded, a bit less difficult, a bit less strain on the wrists and things like that, if that's a problem for you. But I've got to do the full one because I've got to demonstrate it. So this is going to put a lot of load through your shoulders and through your wrists. It's very powerful. I'm going to get really sweaty. I'm going to need to have about 1,000,000 breaks because I find this one really tough. But it's the same principle as normal static extension. The only difference is that your hips are higher and therefore you're putting more weight through your hands and through your shoulders. So hands directly underneath your shoulders, really spreading your fingers nice and wide and trying to keep them as straight as you can. You're also trying to keep them as flat to the floor as you can. So you might notice if your hands are tight, you're kind of doming your palms and bending your fingers, and you really want to squish them as flat as they will let you do. That's going to make everything work a lot harder. Your hips are slightly in front of your knees, and you've got your toes, your ankles, your knees, and your hips in alignment with one another. The legs are quite relaxed here, but the pelvis rolls forwards into extension. As you do that, just make sure that you're not doing this. So you're not pushing your shoulders back up sort of further than your wrists are, but also make sure you're not doing this, where your shoulders overshoot your wrists. If your shoulders overshoot your wrists, you're probably going to start feeling your lower back in a bad way. You might feel your lower back here working because it's doing stuff, but it shouldn't hurt, okay? And your wrist shouldn't hurt either, so don't do this if your wrists hurt. So what I'm going to be doing, shoulders stay above my wrists. I'm sinking into my shoulder girdle, relaxing my head. My shoulder blades are touching behind me. I'm pulling the shoulder blades away from my ears to lengthen my neck, rolling my pelvis forward, setting the timer, off we go. So I'm going to give this a go for 2 minutes, but I actually haven't done this exercise in a really long time. So let's see how we go. Relaxing your face, relaxing your neck, relaxing your legs, rolling that pelvis forward so you're closing up the front of the hip. That's creating pelvic balance for us. It's creating hip strength for us, helping to derotate the spine and the rib cage. The shoulder blades are behind you, touching. Shoulders pull away from the ears. The hands are grounded. We're about 40 seconds in. We're going to do this for 2 minutes. I'm just going to take a little break. So I like kind of push back into a child's pose sort of position here before coming back into it. So I'd rather give myself regular breaks and do the exercise well than get really tired and start compensating. So as I said, the compensations are probably going to be your shoulders overshooting your wrists and you going into your lower back. You might start bending your elbows. You might start pushing yourself backwards. I'd rather have like a deliberate break that I've sort of chosen to have than do the exercise badly. Make sure that the head and the neck are fully relaxed. Your shoulder blades are touching behind you because you're sinking into your upper back. Your elbows are straight. Your palms are flat. Your fingers are flat. You're breathing. You're relaxing your belly, relaxing your face, breathing in and out of your nose. 20 seconds left here. Relaxing your feet, not pulling any faces or holding your breath. Rolling that pelvis forwards, really trying to get the front of the hips working. You might notice some cramping. 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so our final exercise is a supported squat. So for supported squat, we are going to grab onto something. So I have this banister like this. Like I said, for you, it could be a radiator or a window sill, something like that. But we're going to stand with our feet, ankles, knees, and hips parallel. So just making sure that the feet
are not turning out. We're really trying to probably feel a little bit more pigeon-toed than feels right. Train track alignment of the feet. And the exercise looks like this. So we roll the pelvis forwards. We don't want to tuck the pelvis under. So we don't want you coming low with your spine rounded and your pelvis tucked, because that's going to switch off your hip muscles. We're really going to roll that pelvis forward, so we create an arch in the lower back and we close up the front of the hip joint. Same principle as what we've just done. And then slowly we lower ourselves down. We're trying to get the knees going forwards to the fronts of the feet, but not letting the knees collapse in. So we're putting our ankles into dorsiflexion here. We want the fronts of our shins waking up. We're going to go down as low as we can without the pelvis tucking under. So we really want that pelvis driving forwards. We're going to then try and keep our shoulders as nicely above our hips as we can. So I'm going to pull my shoulders back and down behind me, away from my ears, nice and upright. Off we go. So I'm going to do 2 minutes here. But again, it's a tiring one, so have as many breaks as you like. I'm going to make sure that my knees are coming a little bit further forwards just to get a bit more work through the fronts of my shins. If that causes you pain in your knees, don't do that bit. But for me, having the knees come forward is really helpful because it gets me more into dorsiflexion. My pelvis is rolling forwards. I'm not like this where I'm sticking my bum backwards and my shoulders are really far in front. I'm trying to keep the shoulders as much above the hips as I can. My arms are long. My shoulders are down away from my ears, creating that length through the neck. Have a little break. I'm really out of breath. This is hard. That was 45 seconds. We've still got a long time till we hit our 2 minutes. But down we go again. Relaxing your face. In and out of your nose, into your diaphragm. So I was noticing there that I was trying to push my bum backwards. So sort of drawing the bum underneath me more, but still rolling it forwards. I'm gonna have another break. Woo! This routine is schooling me. There's some difficult exercises in this I haven't done for a while, but they feel good. Breathing into your rib cage. My quads are on fire. We've got 30 seconds left. Pulling the shoulders together, pulling them down away from the ears, rolling that pelvis forwards, trying to get some burning through the shins and the quads. 15 seconds left, then we're done. 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think after that, it's time for a well-deserved break. So that was the thoracic pain menu out of the Pain Free by Pete Egoscue book. I hope you enjoyed.